The concept of spiritual awakening, or taking the red pill, is often associated with a profound shift in one's perspective, beliefs, and awareness. While these experiences can be transformative and liberating for many, they can also bring certain struggles and challenges. It's important to know that everyone is different, but as people wake up and embrace all of these different ideas and belief systems, and as they change, they face tons of struggles. Now, the biggest struggle for most is isolation. Spiritual awakenings and adopting unconventional viewpoints can lead to a sense of isolation or alienation from friends and family. Basically, you encounter new information. It breaks your core belief system. You have to rebuild everything. You have to restart. You have to look through the different lens at the reality, or as we call, okay, you woke up from the Matrix-ish. Now what? And so taking the red pill, waking up spiritually, sets tons of new beliefs and thoughts and emotions that when you try to communicate with others, your friends, your family, your coworkers, anyone around you, it becomes impossible for many. One is that if we start speaking authentically, expressing what we feel and what we want to talk about, many will consider us crazy. Many will think that we are really just, nuts. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You're crazy. And then they're going to call you names because one is like, are you accusing government? Are you using drugs? Are you a psychopath? Like, what's wrong with you? Do you have schizophrenia because you're seeing things? What do you mean chakras? What do you mean energy? What do you mean that? And so any subject that you are interested in, that you have been researching for a while now becomes kind of like taboo to talk about. And most people end up isolating themselves, having no one to talk to, not even being able to be authentic. And so we end up kind of like hermits in our own caves, like our house, not even able to talk to anyone because as we look around, family, friends, and thousands of people around us, while we can agree that we can disagree, while we can agree that everyone can have different belief systems and thoughts, and they don't have to necessarily confirm and be in the agreement of what we're saying and believing, we still cannot talk about it freely. We still cannot express our thoughts because of the judgment, because of the misunderstanding, because everyone has different viewpoint, and even then, they're not accepting. Now, another struggle people that take the red pill or have the spiritual awakening face is that once they encounter certain information, it basically destroys your whole belief system. Everything that we were taught from the moment we were born, what our parents told us, what we have learned in kindergarten and school and universities and job, what we've heard from mainstream media and all the other places, not to say that everything is wrong, but people wake up. People take the red pill and start questioning the system. You might have heard this. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health. Lawyers destroy justice. Universities destroy knowledge. Governments destroy freedom. The major media destroys information. And religions destroy spirituality. And then the casual expectations from people. Oh, well, you have to go to school. You have to go to university. You have to get a job. You have to get married by 30. You need to have kids. And all these things that put us in frames of what we should be like leaves us no freedom. And then you take the red pill. You have the spiritual awakening. You start thinking differently than what the system wants from you. You stop buying into the American dream or all the other things. And all of a sudden, starting to live your authentic life where, no, what do you want authentically? Not what people are telling you to do or say or act or behave or feel. What do you want? The way you act, the way you behave, the way you feel is not matching the system or what everyone else is telling you. Not only that, we start having questions like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Why was I born in the first place? Is it my first time on earth? All of these questions that, like, as we read tons of books and go and exploring religions and other things, it just doesn't answer us. Another struggle that people who take the red pill or have the spiritual awakening have is that we have uncertainty. There were so many things that you knew or thought you knew. And all of a sudden, here's this new information, new belief systems, new dogmas, things that you start going into, exploring, learning about. And then you start to question, well, what is real? What is the truth? All of the things I knew seems to be like a lie. And all of the new things, is it true? Is it real? Is it really happening? Or is it just another lie? We go into these uncertainties, existential crisis, and just pondering, okay, what the hell is going on? It's hard to make decisions. It's hard to know what's right or what's true or what the hell is going on in the first place. So this confusion really messes people up. Now, here's another struggle that people that take the red pill or have the spiritual awakening face: resistance. All of a sudden, you learn new things. You start acting differently. You believe differently. You take care of yourself differently. You're not really going by the system. So challenging the norms of society or authority figures, you end up facing criticism, backlash. You end up being called crazy or psycho or schizophrenic, and we're being misunderstood. So with all this, okay, I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to go and buy a new iPhone every time something new comes out. I don't want to eat junk food that, okay, a burger is $1, a veggie is $5. What the hell? So we go against living differently than what everyone else is telling us. And then as you show up, living healthy or the way you consider okay, this is what I think is right for me at this time. Everyone else is what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Why are you taking this diet? Why do you dress up this way? Why? We get so many questions and different thoughts and judgment that hey, you want to live differently. And you have to face the issue that everyone else or tons of people will not agree with you. They will criticize you, judge you, not acknowledge you, make you feel bad, wrong, and guilty just because you choose to live the way you think is right for you specifically. And even while you're not pushing it, just not sharing the same beliefs, thinking differently, oh, people don't like that. Don't you dare to not think like masses. Don't you dare to be, a shepherd and not a sheep and not follow the crowd and live like everyone else. Another struggle people face is loss of identity. So you're reevaluating your identity, who you are, your attachments, your way of seeing this reality. And so a lot of people will end up leaving their careers. They will leave their friends. And not necessarily because you want to and they don't really, you're not seeing them as friends or people you like or want to hang out with, but simply because the beliefs don't match. It's some people are oh, you're vaxxed, you're unvaxxed, oh, there's already a crash. Some people are well, damn, you're a psycho, you're a narcissist. I just realized that I've been obeying and living in a toxic relationship. I don't want that anymore. So we have these thoughts that who we thought we were for our whole lives is now different. You start learning differently. You start taking care of yourself. You start loving yourself and seeing that a lot of people made you kind of obey or buy into the system that made you a slave or, hey, take care of everyone else and forget yourself. Leave yourself in the last place. And now you're no, self-love is very important. Taking care of myself is very important. Not being in a toxic environment, not being a slave in a system is important to you. And all of a sudden you end up quitting your job or not showing up with certain people, or leaving some relationships behind. And then questioning hey, who am I? Everything I thought I was, what I thought I knew, is now different. Again, probably one of the biggest issues and struggles people face is being overwhelmed. Now, having a new awareness, different belief systems, awareness of the systematic issues, corruption, injustice, and all of the things that are going on in the world, you start reading up tons of information about what's been happening, tons of lies that have been told. You might look into the patents and directed energy weapons and all the other things, and you look around and no one's talking about it. No one gives a damn. And even if you try to talk, you might get backlash, you might get judged, you might get criticized, you might get shadow banned, you might get silenced, all the other things. And you seem well, no matter what I do, it just seems useless. There are so many people who took the blue pill, who are not awakened, who are just living sheeps and following the system. And it just becomes freaking whelming. No one to talk to. No one to share the stuff with. And even if you try to fight back, there seems to be okay, it doesn't give us any rewards. Nothing changes. So what the hell? It's just too much. Another struggle is difficulty communicating. So like I've mentioned previously, we learn a lot of new things. You might read up about what's going on in the world and look deeper into the rabbit hole. You might look into all the spiritual experiences and tons of things that can be met with resistance. People are hey, what you're talking about is just too much. Entities, auras, chakras, energy, what the hell? You're schizophrenic. You should go to nut house. And then you share well, look, there are tons of technologies that could really help and change the world, but the government is not allowing it to be because someone else is profiting. And then you're like hearing all these comments that, hey, you're nuts, you're going against our government and they're helping us and they're taking care of us. And now you're like saying they're doing all these bad things. You're crazy. And, there are tons of things. And I'm not saying everything you learn is right and this is the truth, but people who find new information that help them have a different point of view. When you take the red pill, when you have the spiritual awakening, you start thinking differently, feeling differently. And now talking about these things leave us a lot of times misunderstood, unacknowledged, no support from others. And you end up being isolated, feeling all alone, like you have no one to talk to. And even if you're trying to have a normal conversation, usually it's fashion, cars, sports, games, the surface things, but you never can go deeper into, are you happy in this life? How are you feeling today, really? What would be perfect relationship for you? And then you go and talking like deeper topics about how people feel authentically, what they want, their needs, their true feelings, and not just surface things. But a lot of people don't have those conversations. Another struggle people face is balancing material and spiritual needs. People learn about energies, chakras, all the spiritual works and techniques that can help them get out of body, that can help them achieve psychic abilities for all the other things. And then they end up chasing spirituality, which is great. But then a lot of people will leave the physical or material life behind in a way of, okay, you have to make money, you have to take care of your survival, you have to take care of your family or yourself, put yourself first, love yourself, take care of yourself. And a lot of people who have this spiritual awakening or take the red pill, they see all of the injustices and corruptions in this world. They're trying to take care of everyone else. A lot of people get this savior syndrome of like, damn, I can't believe no one else is looking at this. And you see so many things that could be different, and you try to help, you try to teach, you try to share, and you still get this resistance, but you keep on fighting, becoming spiritual fighter, the light worker, or all the other things, and still getting the pushback and seeing no results or little. And so finding this balance between taking care of yourself, finances, your life, the way you live, how you're feeling day to day, and then spiritually, how much are you learning? How much are you growing? How much can you help others? And all the other things. So finding balance is very important, but it is difficult. Another little issue is ego dissolution. All of a sudden, I, me, mine, and everything we have owned, and all the importance of, look, my opinion, this is what I have achieved. This is like, these are my medals and diplomas and all the other things. Look, it doesn't matter anymore. All of a sudden, you're like, hey, it's all love and light. I don't care about that thing. I don't care about the importance or the titles or the acknowledgement. I just want to share this feeling state. I just want to talk about these things. And so losing the individuality, like trying to be like, oh, well, consciousness, and eventually it goes all one. We're all one. It's all one love, one life. Buying into those belief systems, while it is helping, having this ego dissolution really creates difficulties communicating with others and how we're being seen, how we're being misunderstood. And, it does bring feelings of vulnerability and fear. It's like we're trying to learn, like, hey, how are we going to navigate and shift our consciousness and like stay in this life? We have to adjust, we have to be with others, we have to live, but we just don't fit in anymore. It's hard. Another struggle is integration. Integrating the new insights and lessons from what you've learned spiritually, like as you take the red pill, is going to be basically your whole life-lasting process. But it just takes so much. You might have to, leave your job because of your different belief systems. All of a sudden, you don't want to support certain people. You've learned that a lot of companies have been hurting people, have been enslaving them, or, like you look at Kellogg's and all the other things, or like Bill Gates. Oh, there's just so many chemicals that are actually destroying our bodies. There's so many chemicals and food chains and everything else that's just, the farmers market is like not making any money. Normal people who are trying to make the living and trying their best to be authentic and help, they're not being supported. They're being canceled from the market. They're being canceled and shadow banned, and just mainstream biggest corporations are staying out there, making most of the money and suppressing everyone else. And all of a sudden you choose like, hey, I can't work for them anymore. I don't agree with what they're doing. I'm not going to help them out. So you leave, but then you have to leave the career that you've been, working on your whole life. Everything you knew, everything that you've been doing, everything that brought you into the comfort zone is now not a thing anymore. So finding something new, and again, same with people, like, hey, I don't want to hang out with those that are just not agreeing with me. Not necessarily that, people cannot have different opinions, but all of a sudden it's just like, hey, I did not knew or notice or were aware before how toxic this relationship is, how narcissistic you are, how you are manipulating others for your own betterment. Damn. So having to leave work, having to reevaluate your priorities, which is met by resistance and difficulties, it is hard. With everything mentioned, if you ever took the red pill or had a spiritual awakening, what are some of the struggles that you have faced? Please share that in the comments.